Now, since there are only 7,000 votes separating Gore and Bush, and Nader is getting about 26,000 votes, Nader is not only a factor in Wisconsin and Oregon, which we've mentioned before, but it turns out he's a sizable factor in Iowa, may in fact be the difference there. The electoral count, 246 for Bush, 242 for Gore, with 270 needed to win. Florida swinging in the balance. There's been kind of a bungee cord effect there in Florida, up and down all night long. Bush leads by a margin of, what do we have here now? About 38,000 votes, let's say. 38,000 votes separating the two of them in Florida now for the 25 electoral votes. This is with 95% of the precincts reporting. I'm not sure how many of the absentee ballots have been counted. Ed Bradley.
Well, you've got the absentee ballots that are in the state have been counted, we're told, but you've got those ballots from overseas, 30,000, that won't be counted until tomorrow. We've got some facts here on the votes that are still outstanding. About a third of the vote that's not in is from Dade and Broward County, which is a strong Democratic area. The rest scattered about the state. In Okeechobee County, which is south of Orlando, only about 5% of the vote is in. And many of the people in that area are described as middle class and retirees. And then in Union County, which is in the north part of the state, some people have often said that North Florida is like South Georgia. These people are generally considered to be more southern, more conservative than the rest of the people in Florida, and about 72% of the vote is in, so there's still a big chunk of the vote to come in from there.
You know, Ed Bradley, we keep saying that we've been told that the 30,000 absentee votes coming into Florida from overseas, and they won't be counted until tomorrow. Under the journalist creed of you trust your mother, but you cut the cards and you check it out, I'm going to double check whether that's true. While we do so, let's remind you that the Electoral Vote College count, 246 to 242, Bush leads Gore with 270 needed to win. Our CBS News coverage will continue in just a few moments.
There's always a combination of...
Who was killed in a plane crash. That race is still close to call with Senator John Ashcroft. We still have not heard what's happened out in Michigan, where you have Debbie Stabenow challenging the Republican incumbent down there. So this could be very well the night that we wind up with 50 Republicans and 50 Democrats in the Senate.
Well, Leslie Stahl, the Republicans seem assured, not official, but our estimate is they seem assured of retaining control of the House by a wee small margin. So what we've got here is a country split pretty much down the middle.
You see that not only in these races that you're all talking about for the presidency, but when you look at how people voted over the whole country for House, there's 2% difference. In all these races across the country, it's 2% difference, Democrat to Republican. It's going to be very difficult for the next president to run as anything but a centrist, because this country is all divided right down the middle, and the pressure on all the candidates who ran this time was to be moderate on all the issues down the line.
The only thing wrong with that argument, and it may very well stand up, is when the Republicans were in the minority in the House, but it was fairly close, they basically said to the Democrats, okay, you won, but not by much. Show us what you got, and we're going to resist you at every turn. By the same token, when Newt Gingrich came in with a Republican majority in 1994, the Democrats said, okay, it's your House, we're going to resist you at every turn. What are the chances of that happening this time?
The chances are very great that will happen again.
Well, I think that no matter who is elected, we'll have a different atmosphere. I mean, let's face it, we have had for the last 8 years the most partisan White House that I can recall in all the time I've been in Washington. And we had, in my view, the most partisan Congress that we've had, that I can ever recall. It just got to where they couldn't get together on very much of anything. Whether it's Gore, whether it's Bush, I think you'll see a little bit of a cooling off period. I'm not going to say that I think everything's going to be sweet and rosy, but I think it will at least be a little different than what we've seen.
Well, maybe for the first 6 or 8 months. Most new presidents, whether you change parties in the White House or not, get a so-called honeymoon period. It might stretch a little longer for this next one. Who can say? What we can say is that we do not yet know who is going to be the next president of the United States. It's 246 to 242. Bush leads in the race for the Electoral College decisive vote, 270 needed to win. The 4 states outstanding, Florida, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Oregon. Bush, even if he doesn't get Florida, can win the presidency by taking the remaining 3 states, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Oregon. Gore must have Florida and 1 of these other states in order for him to win this race. Now, Ed Bradley, you got some new information there?
No, I just looking at the numbers again, I keep track of where they are. Gore's up by 6,000 in Iowa. That looks like his best bet. Bush is ahead by 7,000 in Wisconsin and by 35,000 in Oregon, but only 59% of the vote is in. 97% of the vote is in Iowa.
Just in Missouri, the Democrat wins in Missouri. Mel Carnahan is no longer with us. He died in a plane crash, but he was on the ballot. That's by Missouri law. He stayed on the ballot. The voters voted for him. That is a pickup because he defeats, in death, he defeats the Republican John Ashcroft. His widow is expected to be appointed to the Senate seat. That's a pickup for the Democrats. We'll have more for you just after the top of the hour. Dan Rather at CBS News Election Headquarters in New York.
City of Angels, Thursdays on CBS. It's all here.
People of Philip Morris.
Oprah, Beth, Tom Cruise, and Rob Lowe. Next ET.
CBS News Election Night headlines of the hour. It's beginning to look like dawn may get here before the presidential call comes to light, and it may not come to light then. Don't stop us if you've heard this one before. 4 states, outstanding. Presidency in the balance. Bush has 2 ways to tip it his way: win Florida or win all of the other 3, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Oregon. For Gore, he's behind, but he has a chance to win. Only one way to win: Florida or bust. Then, if he wins Florida, Gore still must win at least 1 of the other 3, Iowa, Wisconsin, Oregon, at 2 a.m. in the East. This is the crucial election vote count right now. It takes 270 electoral votes to win, 246 Bush, 242 for Gore. And here you see the popular overall national vote count at the moment. Hey, we told you this might be the closest election in 40 years. Can't say that we didn't warn you. Now, among the other things that happened, in Missouri, dead man walking. Bob Schieffer.
Well, of all the strange things of this night, perhaps this is the strangest of all. Now, let me just set the picture for you. Republican Senator John Ashcroft, he runs against Mel Carnahan, the Democratic governor. Carnahan is killed in a plane crash, but apparently the dead man has won this race. The dead man has won this race. Now, no politician likes to lose, but when you lose to someone who has died in a plane crash, that's really got to hurt, it seems to me. Now, the other thing to be said about this is the Republicans are certain to challenge this in court. Whether they'll get very far, no one really knows. They are certain to challenge it in the court.
Because the governor's going to appoint the widow, who said that she would take the seat if her husband in absentia having passed on, won the race.
And apparently he's won.
He's won. So the governor says, I'm going to appoint the widow to that Senate seat. And the Republicans say, with all due respect to the widow and everybody else concerned, we don't think that's legal and we're going to challenge it.
Now, what exact grounds they would use, perhaps they would say that Carnahan was no longer a resident of Missouri and you have to be a resident to win the race. But whatever the case, this is just extraordinary. I can't ever recall. We have had dead people, I'm sorry, those who have passed away elected to the House. We've never had a dead person elected to the Senate.
Well, the senator, he crossed the river. Let's put it that way. But anyway, the important thing now is this is an unprecedented situation. We've had a lot of unprecedented. This couldn't be hotter, couldn't be tighter presidential race where with 270 electoral votes to win, Bush is hanging there with 246, Gore with 242, 4 states outstanding, Florida, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Oregon. Now the Senate wins today as of 2 a.m. The Democrats have won 17, the Republicans have won 14. Uncalled, 3 outstanding, Michigan, Nebraska, and Montana. Bill Whitaker's in Austin. Bill, Bush strategy on these final 4 states, what are they thinking? What are they praying?
Dan, if you look at that map, you can see how finely tuned that Bush strategy was. Over the last week, he visited all 4 of the states that are up for grabs. As a matter of fact, in the last day, he visited 3 of them: Florida, Iowa, and Wisconsin. If he ends up winning those states, Bush strategists are going to seem mighty smart. Dan?
On the other hand, I suppose it's always true, Bill Whitaker, that if Bush winds up losing the race, does not now look like he will, but still could happen, then nobody's going to be looking all that smart. That's the way it goes. But maybe we should pause and say that while this is one of the great races in American presidential history, whoever wins it, we can say this has been one of the best run presidential races overall in terms of, yes, there's been negative advertising, yes, there's been some attacks, yes, there's been some down and dirty tricks, but in terms of cleanliness of the race, Iowa goes for Gore. This just into CBS News election headquarters in New York. So 7 electoral votes get colored blue. The cheering starts in Nashville. Is it too early? Yes, but this is the first good news they've had in several hours. Now, let's look it over now. The electoral college count now goes in favor of Gore. You talk about a ding-dong, knock-down, get-up. I've never seen anything like it, and neither has anybody else. Folks, take a good look at this. You haven't seen this before, and you're not likely to see it again for a powerful long time. 249 for Gore, 246 for Bush, takes 270 win. Now, we're down to a decisive 3, and they are Florida, 25 electoral votes. Wisconsin, where natives are a factor and a major factor, 11 votes out there, waiting. And boy, oh boy, would each of the candidates love to have it.